Hey, it's Sam, and I want to share with you one stock that's about to break $20. I'm not going to hold your attention. It's JOBY, Joby Aviation. There are two other stocks that are interesting. If Joby's not your cup of tea, it's not in the sector that you find exciting, I'll talk about that. That's USAR in the rare earth sector, and also VST, which is in energy, which is basically AI at this point. It's all related. So let's jump into some charts and take a look at these stocks. First up, we'll talk about Joby. Um, Vertical takeoff aircraft, right? That's Joby, and that's also Archer. And this is the concern with Joby as well. Look what Archer just round tripped, gave up about 40% in, you know, a couple weeks, but really only like 4 days made up a lot of it. So that's the concern. But Joby, people have been shorting it, including me, and it's holding up. So shorts are getting squeezed, and they do have earnings. So if earnings is good, and if the market turns up a little, the market has pulled back the last couple of days, but this could level off at this pivot point and start to turn up. Companies like Joby could have that tailwind as well. They are doing vertical takeoff aircraft, and people aren't, poo-pooing this. This is real, like aircraft taxis. Um, they delivered their first production aircraft to Dubai. You might have seen that video of the air, basically car lifting up vertically. And it's a real delivery, 6-year exclusive operating agreement. In total, that deal has the potential to generate over 300 million in revenue once service begins in 2026. We do know that Dubai has a lot of money. The oil sheiks over there, and people moving there to advantageous tax situation if you're a non-U.S. citizen. So that's the deal, that's the numbers, and that's Joby. $20 is right up above this breakout level, so it's definitely within reach. But they also have a partnership with L3 Harris to develop a hybrid VTOL aircraft for military use. So that's a little more interesting as an investor because the military can be more in the research side. You don't have to have something that's totally safe for a civilian to be interesting for the military to test. And that project alone is getting 60 million in initial DoD funding for test flights in 2026. So it's a big deal. They are scaling their production capacity up to 24 aircraft per year, which 24 is a lot when you're selling them for millions and millions of dollars. And these shares are already up 50%. I mean, we went from literally 8 to 16 in the past month and a half, but just in the past month alone, we're at 50%. So big deal. Earnings coming August 6th. No commercial revenue yet. Final phase of FAA certification. So we're looking for delivery volume, just like we look for with Tesla. How much the product actually works, serviceability, and more DoD contracts. So that is probably the best opportunity that I see right now. Now, the second stock is USAR. This is a rare earth stock, and although it does look a little extended at this exact moment, you can see this support resistance pivot here. If it gets above this, it can use this. You can use this as risk, meaning if the stock gets above and then starts to go drop below, you know that people are selling up here. Whereas if it holds, you know that there's still buying interest. Or well, if the volume's significant, rather that the buying interest has overwhelmed the sellers. There's no sellers left. But I'm not just picking this because of where it's at. I'm actually picking it because it's in a hot sector, which is rare earths, which the U.S. is trying to gain a foothold against China. U.S. domestic supply chain, critical minerals, that whole thing. So they're developing rare earth magnets out of Oklahoma, and they've commissioned their plant. They've signed deals with two companies, Moog and Polar Star. And they've got a 5-year supply agreement that could be worth over $120 million. So they did have a price target, buy rating target around $17. Canaccord Genuity, it's not, JP Morgan, it's not a Citi price target, but this is a new company. It's a startup. Those are the investment banks that cover a company like this. and they do have earnings coming up. Q1 earnings did show a loss, you can see here, but company is in the build-out phase, and we're watching for mid-August earnings, small revenue. They've guided for growth that could push them for 500 million annually by 2027. So the U.S. government's going to be leaning into strategic reshoring, domestic manufacturing. So it's not just commercial applications. And so rare earths are in the spotlight. If you've been watching the news, everything's about tariffs, and rare earths are sort of the most initial core piece of metals, core piece of chips, core piece of data centers, core piece of AI. Energy, it just builds up and up. So they're very low on the stack, and they're one of the few companies that actually has facilities coming online in rare earths. Now, there is one other stock, speaking of the AI stack, and that is VST, which had an incredible strength on Friday. You see when the market, you can see in the background the market going down. I'll show the market itself. Market's just going down, down. And you can see other energy stocks like CEG sort of going sideways. Meanwhile, VST is strong all the way up near, week-long highs. Wicked up a little bit here, but getting near there. And it's not just some bet, you can wait until after earnings to buy it, but if you do buy it and it shoots up on Monday, you will have some cushion going into earnings. So depends on your risk tolerance. Power company, it's basically near its 52-week high. If we zoom out even more, you can see it cleared at the January levels. And then if we zoom out even more, we can see we're all-time highs, disregarding this last little wick from this past week. So this stock is seeing blue skies ahead of it. Just need to watch the earnings report on the 7th. Last quarter revenue came in at about $4 billion, slightly under expectations. They do have a backlog of capacity expansion and grid deals that could pump that number up, make it a rebound earnings quarter. And the long-term story here is growing electricity demand, modernizing aging grids, creating all the energy infrastructure for AI, and VST is right at the heart of that whole movement. So I'm not saying that these are all great bets. I'm saying that these are the best bets that I can find right now in this current market. And they're in different sectors. USAR gives you a strategic rare minerals play. It is a SPAC, so there's more uncertainty with any sort of startup situation, but there's also more price acceleration opportunity to the upside, you could say, to give the rosiest picture of it. And they do have 500 million revenue projected. Joby, first mover advantage in the vertical takeoff aircraft. Air taxis, 300 million potential revenue with the Dubai partnership and military deals, giving it, real partners. VST, nearly 4 billion a quarter in revenue. Long-term game is not just the grid, but also battery storage. So that could be huge in smoothing out some of the inconsistencies with charging electric vehicles or sun and wind. You need batteries to sort of pump that, as well as AI. ChatGPT is going to be used mostly, I'm sure, at 7 p.m., just like, people use the internet. So that is going to be very important. VST. Earnings coming up for all three, so be careful. Catalysts that could go up, could go down. So know these levels that I gave. For VST, I guess the level would be this wick right here. You can see it held it here, and then it, failed to break out here. So that level is important. And I gave you levels for Joby and USAR. So keep those in mind. You guys are awesome. Drop a ticker in the chat or in the comments. This is a YouTube video, so it'll be in the comments. And I will see you in the next video. Have a great weekend.